feeling. Never thought you would like what was missing. It was all in my head. You left me hanging, and I didn't know what I was feeling. Break a glass, make amends. This and the cycle. Is it real? Is it fake? Will it be final? Mind a mess, maze of thoughts. I feel so idle, talking to myself. You made a mess of my head. You broke the boundaries we made. Tried to make up in my bed, and now you got me staying up till 4 a.m. You broke the boundaries we made at 4 a.m., 4 a.m., 4 a.m.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live. It's ATS. I'm on with my main man, Mark Farker. We have a cracking guest on for you tonight. One of the best goal scorers, one of the top goal scorers in the League of Ireland, over 100 goals in his career. Over the last couple of years, you know, this man's played for the likes of Pats. He's played for Shamrock Rovers. He's played for Dundalk here in Kilduff, you know, goals in Europe. He had a spell in America there recently until he moved back, and he was with Shelburne most recently, and then now moved on to Maynooth, where he's doing a bit of coaching, and he's with the university side, and that he was part of the coaching setup as well for their game in Bows over the weekend. You heard that music just on the way in there. That's from our man Bosch. You know, he's got another beat out, 4 a.m. It's a cracker, Chief. You've been listening to it?
It's a good tune. Hey, to be fair, fair play to Bosch, man. He's some entrepreneur. He's only 18 or 19. This is a second tune that he's rolled out. Hey, so you got to give credit to him. Hey, he's certainly going places, and he's bringing a bit of professionalism to this setup as well, and we appreciate having him as well. So top man Bosch, and get on it. Hey, it's on Spotify as well, so get plenty of downloads on it. It's a good tune, and give him a bit of support. It's always good to support local, as they say.
100%. 4 a.m. I know a man from Dundalk would have been up to 4 a.m. on Friday or Saturday morning thinking about how he's threw away a 2-goal lead. Mr. Vinny Perth, I'm sure, absolutely sickened. But look, what a game that was. It was fantastic. You know, we thought we're dead and buried at 3-1, but you know, what character, Chief. And you know, some we'll speak about later in the programme, but just quickly, your thoughts on it.
It was unbelievable. It was one of those, I think you said it on Twitter as well, one of those special nights at Finn Park, you know, under the lights, the crowds absolutely buzzing, and just an incredible performance. You know, you're obviously down to 10 men, you know, for the guts of 60, 70 minutes, and, you know, what a goal as well. It was an unbelievable goal, as good a goal as you'll see in Finn Park. I mean, I said it was a bit like Dennis Bergkamp, the way he killed it. Unreal, and you know, it'll be interesting to hear what Kilduff makes of the situation at Dundalk as a former player, because at 3-1, you know, they were playing some great football, and you're thinking, this is a team capable of going on to win the cup. And then all the sort of issues that they're having, you know, sort of played out in the last 10 minutes. And, you know, if the game went to extra time, you know, you would have probably fancied Harps to go and win it, because the momentum was completely with them and they were out in their feet. So interesting to see how they bounce back on Tuesday night, but interested to hear what Ciaran has to say about the current situation there at Dundalk. But unbelievable stuff from Harps, and as you say, we'll talk about it a wee bit later on.
Yeah, I suppose the best thing to do is just to get the man on, really, and we'll go from there. So if we get Ciaran in, please.
What's happening, fellas? How are you?
How's it going? Are you well?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. And it was a great song at the start of the show as well. I have to appreciate it.
You were jumping around the kitchen there, were you?
Yeah, it wasn't bad, yeah.
Good stuff.
You weren't jumping around the kitchen on Friday night, were you, Duffer? We'll jump straight in there. But obviously, it's been a great run for Maynooth. You're involved there. You're assistant manager and you're the first team coach. Great run, but I mean, how was it on Friday? Disappointed that, you know, maybe you didn't stay in the game for as longer than you did, or what was your take on Friday night's game against Bows?
No, look, we were up against it. We knew we were. Bows are a good side. As I said to you earlier in the week, I went up to Finn Harps to watch them on Monday night. It was they impressed me for 60 minutes, and then Harps kind of got after them a bit, and it was a great finish, bit of a grandstand finish. So I kind of knew what they were about. Probably, if you'd said to me you'd be 1 down after 35 odd minutes, you probably would have taken that. You know, then we got a man sent off, and before we knew it, we were 3-0 down with 10 men away to Bohemians, and the reality kind of kicked in then. So we knew we had a long hour left in the game then. But in fairness to the lads, they really they dug in. We tweaked a few things just before half time and had a chat and just said, listen, look, let's keep this respectable a bit. You know, we knew we were up against it, and Bows had been were really pushing on just before half time, so it could have been an even longer night for us. But credit to the lads. Look, it was nearly all of their first experience of playing in a League of Ireland ground in front of a crowd against some top players. Like, Bows didn't disrespect us with their team selection or anything like that. They had a lot of their big hitters on the pitch, the best they could have really put out in a lot of positions. So we did our best, and to be honest, it was we probably knew we were up against a good team anyway, but it would have been nice just to see, as you said, to stay in the game that little bit longer and see what would have happened. Maybe I probably had in my head, it was funny enough, like as I said, I saw Bows 2 up in Finn Park there on Monday, and all of a sudden you get 1 and the thing turns. Do you know what I mean? You're there, you wouldn't stay in the game, you have a chance, but wasn't to be, and credit to them, they'll be hard betting the cup.
Yeah, I watched the first, I think it was the first 15 or 20 minutes of the game, just I think was on a bit earlier than the Harps game and that, and he's really popped the ball around well. Like, he's really did, acquit yourselves very well at the start. What's the thought process in terms of, going to Daily Mount Park? Obviously, Bows are flying, they've been playing in Europe, and as you say, lads with maybe not much experience. What's the setup? Because the first goal, I suppose, in those games is crucial,
Yeah. Well, look, we probably knew it was going to be hard to get at them when you want to probably contain them more than get at them. Do you know what I mean? We probably knew we were setting up a little bit to maybe spoil the game a bit at the start, just to get through the first 20 minutes without really, going too far behind and let the lads get themselves into the game a bit. And we kind of felt like we did that. Even after they scored, we weathered 15 minutes kind of going, okay. And I think after half an hour, they had 1 shot on target, which was the goal. So we were like, okay, so far so good. But we had a mad 5 minutes there from 35 minutes to 40 where we went down to 10, conceded 2, and the game was, the jig was up there.
The sending off was a killer.
It was, and it was avoidable as well, which was kind of hard to take. It changed everything. Do you know what I mean? You obviously have to take off one of your attacking players as well to put in another sitting midfielder. We didn't have many Mark Falkers in the squad to do that job, so we had to.
There's not too many of us around, Chief.
No. But look, we jigged a few things around, and we were okay. We saw it out. In fairness, the second half was a great performance for us, and we were happy with it a lot in terms of the cup run. The club had never been there before. It'd been a long time since the non-league team had got to the last 8 as well. So we knew the task that was in front of us. But as you said, the sending off just made it a bridge too far anyway.
Yeah, I suppose 2 of your old clubs left in the competition, Pats and Dundalk. We'll go to the Dundalk game. Obviously, they played Harps. Harps getting them back to a replay after being 3-1 down. So it was early on in the game. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the game, or
I just saw the highlights of it online after. Sure, I think everyone was talking about it with that kind of finish in the game. So yeah, I'm well familiar with what happened up there. It was a crazy night. It was. It's funny. Like, I'm actually thinking of going up and watching the replay now. It's Tuesday night, isn't it, or is it Monday?
Yeah, it's Tuesday night.
It's Tuesday night now, because I know Derry are playing Bows Monday night as well. So it's on Tuesday night. And I was half thinking it's not too far from me. I might go up and watch it, because it's going to be interesting now. With, like, as much as it's great for them to make the comeback and get back into it, there's still another game to be had now. I doubt Ollie's really happy with it, with a replay. Do you know what I mean? He now has to go. The replay's only worth something if you go and win the next one. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be a great game, and it's fascinating. That would have been a hammer blow to Dundalk. It's another game for them. It's a game they thought was over, and now you're planning for a game in a few days' time. It's definitely going to be a tough one, and it should be an interesting one, because the other 3 teams are all through, and everyone's waiting on the winner of this one. So it's a really good game, and I think even neutrals would be interested in this one. Yeah. It was a huge one for Finn Harps to pull out, like, at the end. To be fair,
yeah, it definitely was. And just, I suppose, to as Keith said in the intro, like, you've had an unbelievable career in the League of Ireland. I would say probably your best spell was at Dundalk, so you've obviously got close associations with the club. You were part of a hugely successful period in that club's history. What do you think has gone wrong there? I know it's a difficult one to ask you, but there seem to be a club lacking direction. I know Finney Peart, obviously someone you worked closely with when he worked under Stephen and stuff. It's probably hard to pinpoint what actually is going wrong there, but what do you think the future holds for Dundalk? It is quite worrying, because, as I said to Keith, watching the game, you've seen them at 3-1 up. They look like a side. This is a side that could go on and win the cup, and then they concede that second, and they're all over the shop. Like, I mean, what's your overview on Dundalk and the direction they're in? And, you know, is Finney Peart the right man to get them out of the trouble they're in? Because they are in a relegation battle. There's no point saying they're not.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that's what they're in, and it is that. You're right. Like, they're the defending champions of the FAI Cup. They played in the Europa League last year. Do you know what I mean? It's some fall from grace in a couple of months. I mean, it's not even. I think it's someone said the other day. It's 9 months ago they were playing Arsenal. Do you know? It's literally now you're talking about a relegation playoff or worse for them, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly what happened. But like when I left Dundalk in 2017. They went on and won the league the following year as well. They won cups. They were in all the cup finals and they qualified for Europa League. But if you look at, I was looking back through it, there was huge turnover of players. Like, that's not the same Dundalk team. It's not even the same management team anymore. They got rid of Stephen Kenny. Not got rid of Stephen Kenny. Stephen Kenny moved on, but you have to replace him then. And then they got rid of wholesale changes from personnel. Some went away, some retired and went on. Stevie O'Donnell's now managing. Shields up north. Like, there's a lot of huge upheaval there within the club, and it's hard to say what one thing happened, but definitely too much change too quick for a club literally who got Europa League football, or, you know, in the last twice in the last 4 years, which before that never happened. They're the only club to do that. So I don't know is the answer, but I think everyone's nearly tuned in. I think they have to get through this patch. This is beyond the sticky patch for them now. You know, they don't look like they can beat anyone at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Everything looks like a hard game for them. They went down to Longford against 9 men. You know, played G against 10 men, and Harps pulled it out of the bag, and it's just everything's looking hard for them now. So I hope they have the players and they have the quality. As I said, these players won the FAI Cup last year, and they played, a lot of these played Europa League. The quality's there. They just need to pull it all together right now. And as for the Vinny part, I mean, Vinny was there. They let Vinny go, and things didn't improve. So now they brought Vinny back, and that's probably not the best. That wouldn't suggest a perfectly functioning club at the minute either. You know, it very rarely happens where you let him go, you take him back, and, you know, things are perfect. So it's been hard on Vinny too. So as a former player and a supporter of the club, I hope to get out of this spell, because they're too much of a good club, and they've done so much in the last decade for Irish football. It's a shame to see them probably on their knees now.
Yeah. I suppose when you take out, you know, I was just looking through the squad there, and obviously, you know, you look at the players that were missing and then like the players that have left. You know, you talk about Stevie O'Donnell leaving, Chris Shields going up north. You know, Gartland's out, Massey's out. Obviously, Massey's left. Gannon's gone. You know, you just look through it's a totally different, and that was the spine of the team essentially. You know, you talk about those players of experience. You know, Sean Hoare as well moved on. You know, like to take that group of players out of any team. You know, there's obviously, and but the point I'm trying to make is, who's making those decisions? Who is advising the club that is the way forward to take the mainstay of a team? Obviously, Gary Rogers retired as well, but who's making those decisions? Yeah,
like I think Stephen Kenny was probably obviously the king of recruitment there for a couple of years. You know, he always had a successor to it. Do you know what I mean? Daryl Horgan moved on. You bring in Michael Duffy and McElhenney. Do you know what I mean? Before that, it was like, even when Hoban moved, he signed McMillan and myself, or McMillan was there, but then signed myself. Then when I left, Hoban came back. He just constantly had the next player. And I said recently in a different interview, it was like, they were always signing the best players in the league, and I don't think they're doing that anymore. They're going outside of the league, so you're signing these players who obviously are good somewhere else. But our league, as you know yourselves, is a unique enough league. It's hard to do. We've seen a lot of international players come over and struggle with it. It's not your typical, you know, beautiful, you know, easy playing football. It's the kick and rush times. It's physical, and then, you know, you have to be able to mix it. And I think that's probably what they went away from, and it's probably well documented that they. You know, they went and signed probably players that they'd seen in European competition, but it's a hard league. No disrespect to places like going up to Ballybuffet and places like that, but they're tough places to go. And if you're a bit of an international or European style player, it's not going to suit you. Do you know what I mean? You just got to be able to pull up your sleeve sometimes. And I think they went away from that model, and now they're probably learning a bit on the job. So as I said, hopefully they can change it.
So, Kilduff, are you saying, say when Stephen was there, he had full autonomy on terms of recruitment and who he was getting in, but the model's changed where, you know, it's somebody upstairs now and they're going, you know, to try and recruit players from overseas? Is it financial as well, you know, in terms of you used to go out and buy the best players, but is it a case that maybe Shamrock Rovers have the sort of financial muscle now to buy the best players in the league.
Yeah, but
is that part of it, or what do you think is going on?
Yeah, no, look, it's like Shamrock Rovers are still buying the best players in the league. Do you know what I mean? Or players who have been in the league, coming back to it, who've been a success in it before. So it's not as much of a risk. Do you know what I mean? Like if you've signed a player who's done it with other teams in the league, you know they've been able to adapt to the league. So you're signing, and that's what Stephen Kenny, for example, did. And then obviously the instability within the club as well in terms of the management. I mean, they're going through managers now and they're giving people the runs. Like they had Filippo, then they had even Jimmy Gilton took over for a while, and then now Vinny again. Like it's not like there's no stability there for a manager even to build a squad again. Do you know what I mean? It seems to be a lot of upheaval and a lot of uncertainty, and they're just paying the price for it now, and everyone can tell it. And to be honest, we all know the rumours that there's players going to leave at the end of the year. Some of them are going up to Derry, some of them are going to leave, go elsewhere.
Yeah,
I think that's going to continue. I think that's that uncertainty and that that the lack of knowing exactly of your settled team and who you have is going to continue for the next while from Dundalk. So it really is a transition period, but it obviously could be done a little bit smoother than it has been because results and everything now seem to be struggling. Like if they don't, they're obviously looking at that FAI Cup as their best route to Europe, and a club with their financial backing and the investors that they have there, they've got to be looking at that going, well, we need to get back into Europe here. So the FAI Cup is huge. That's why I think that result up in Finn Park the other night probably sent shockwaves throughout the league, especially considering the circumstances of being up against 10 men and 3-1 up with a couple of minutes to go. So listen, that game on Tuesday is going to be very interesting for many reasons.
Yeah, if you have 50 quid now, how would you call it?
Ollie will go for the score draw. You'll go up there and it'll be an awkward night again. It could go the distance, in fairness. Like no one ever gets an easy game against Finn Harps. Not anymore, anyway. You know, they seem to have really turned the corner the last couple of months. And even at the end of last year, obviously they were chasing me at Shelburne, and I know all about the runs they're capable of putting together after that. So, it's going to be a tight game up there. I think I'm going to go with a draw myself, and it could even go the distance because Dundalk don't look like the same animal that they could. A couple of years ago, you would have been fairly confident putting your money on them, but not so much now.
Yeah, especially I was just looking at that actually when we not to be going on about the Dundalk of old, but with Harps dropping to 10 men, that would have been game over. And especially going 3-1 up, they would have seen it out. They would have had the experience. There would have been no problem. But it was just like they almost panicked. They were almost looking at the clock thinking, come on, just blow the whistle, blow the whistle.
And that's a team struggling in confidence, really, and that's all that is. You know what I mean? If they had been on a good run at the minute, that would have been another day at the office for them,
It's crazy, isn't it, confidence in football? Because you still got the likes of Hoban and Andy Boyle and these players in the pitch, and it just doesn't matter, even how much experience you have. Duffy was playing, when the confidence it's low, it's hard to pick it up. Before we chat a little bit about your career now, Ciaran, just a quick one on obviously the last guest we had on was Georgie Kelly. You were obviously up at Finn Park, watching Bows last Monday night, and then you played them the cup. How impressed have you been with him? He's really, he was at Dundalk, didn't really work out for him. He's certainly taken his opportunity at Bows as someone who plays in that area of the pitch. How good a player is Georgie? And what's your opinion?
He's excellent. I got to see him firsthand the other night, as I said, up in Finn Park. I thought he was excellent. His link up was brilliant, and he was really a threat all night. Took his penalty brilliantly. And linked up, he put promise on with Ciaran a few times as well down in behind, and they nearly got a few goals out of it. He was excellent. A bit like what we're saying about Dundalk, except the complete opposite of it. Georgie's now benefiting from huge confidence. Do you know what I mean? You've got a club who are struggling to a player who's literally on fire at the minute, and he deserves it because no more than myself, there was clubs where things went right for me, and players complimented my style and stuff like that. And Georgie's living a striker's dream at the minute. He's got some brilliant players from Burt to Devoy, and all these players, supply lines to him are great. And then he himself, by scoring goals, is improving and linking up with everyone. So he really looks the complete package now, and he's really found a team that he just fits into. To be fair, he looks a different striker than the one I saw maybe at Pats and even at times at Dundalk. It was hard at Dundalk. He was kind of getting in and out, and we all have to go through those periods as well. But I suppose the Pats thing didn't really work for him, and everyone keeps going back to it. But now he's just hit a club where he's a fan's favourite. He's scoring goals, and I think he's going to continue to score goals. He right now he's the on-form player in the league. And even what you said about Hoban, it's important. I'm not a strikers union kind of guy, but Hoban's flying as well. He's still scoring goals every week, and it must be hard for him because he must be a frustrated figure up there because his return's not too bad either. For a player playing with a team who aren't exactly winning every week as well. So in fairness, there's still an abundance of good strikers in the league, and Georgie's definitely one of them.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose looking at your own career now, if we go back to maybe a couple of your bigger occasions and that, there, you had a couple of opportunities in Europe, with Dundalk and that there. You started more so associated with Shamrock Rovers and kind of come up through the under-19 stuff and that there. When did you feel, I suppose, I know you had a few loan periods and that there, when did you feel, I suppose, that it wasn't really going to work out and at Shamrock Rovers for you and you were going to move on?
Yeah, like at Shamrock Rovers, I had 10 years at Shamrock Rovers. I signed out when I was 14. I broke into the first team, and it was hard because they're such a huge club. You don't probably realise how big these clubs are until you're at them, and there's so many players going through the underage setup. And I finally got in, and I ended up going away then for a year on loan, and I cut my teeth a bit. Then I went to UCD and won a first division, and things were great. Do you know what I mean? And then I was signed back for Shamrock Rovers, and obviously winning the Premier Division in my first year and qualifying for the Europa League then at the time. Yeah. That would have been our time in college, Falker, when it was literally crest of a wave stuff. And I was literally going, this is great. But the problem about it being at a club like Shamrock Rovers is after a while, you realise it's very hard to move Gary Twigg out of the team at times. Do you know what I mean? He's the best striker probably the club have had in the last 30, 40 years, if not ever. Do you know what I mean? They're only close to building a statue of him. So you're literally going, you're probably going, well, years are ticking by, even though it's early 20s, you're kind of going, I need to be playing. And then I obviously, I went to Cork City on loan then when I was about 22, 23, hit a great run of form. And I thought that was the end of my Rovers time then. I kind of agreed when I had left that I wouldn't be coming back. But probably by doing well in Cork, I shot myself in the foot because Trevor Crowley was the manager at the time, and he made me come back, even though I made it clear I didn't want to come back. So I ended up probably staying a year too long. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't do well. Probably even the supporters probably felt like, why isn't he hitting the form he hit in Cork? But I was looking back at it now. I was just a disgruntled player at the time. I'd been obvious, and I'd said straight out I didn't want to be here. I felt like when you sent me on loan at 23, I thought, our bed was made at that stage. I'm not coming back. But I was meant to stay that extra year, and then I finally got to move on.
So you didn't want to stay at all? Did you not feel that, all right, they want me back now because I went away, but you still felt a bit disgruntled? You were like, no, you put me out in loan, so I want to go, but they made you go back.
That was the deal when I went on loan. They were bringing in Eamon Zoid. I'd go to Cork, finish the year there, and I'd be free to go. So obviously, after hitting a bit of form in Cork, I had, without not being overconfident like it, but I had to pick of the country then. Got player of the month last month of the year, and things were going well for me. A bit like what we said, Georgie Kelly, you go to a place where you fit in and things suit you and you get a bit of confidence, all of a sudden everything's going in for you. And that's where I was when I was going home from Cork. But the problem was then I felt like their words were gone back on, then things probably hadn't worked out with players who'd come in to replace me, and that wasn't my problem. I was still adamant I wanted to move on, but I was made to stay. And it's very hard, not that you're trying to force moves through or anything like that, but when you have an unhappy player, you're probably just not going to get the best out of them. And I wasn't happy, and I was clear with that when I came back. I begged to leave, but I was told I couldn't, so I had to wait my time, and then I left. So that was kind of how it ended at Rovers.
I suppose there, like when you had the likes of Gary Twigg in there, and then as you said, Eamon Zoid was coming in, and you're living with Forks as well. That's going to do nobody any favors in terms of
that'd take years off your career, man. I mean,
100%. I actually feel for you there again.
Looked after him. Like,
yeah, you did.
I'll tell you what. I seen Kilduff firsthand at college, and maybe some of the stuff he was doing off the field was maybe impacting his performance at Shamrock Rovers. And he had an opportunity to address it here tonight, and he's given it the whole one. They've sent me off on loan. Got to look at yourself there, Ciaran. You got to look at yourself. Were you doing enough?
Should have picked a better audience here, shouldn't I?
Here, see, in fairness though, like going back to Shamrock Rovers, you touched on it. You won the league, some incredible experiences in Europe. What was your relationship like with O'Neill? Like, obviously you did play, but you were never his maybe go-to man. Was that hard to accept as a player? You obviously can understand because Twigg was top notch, but did you feel that you were always on the periphery there and you never really nailed down a sort of position there?
Yeah, without being disrespectful to the club, like it's not all their fault. Like I had top periods and good times at the club. Like I scored 30-something league goals at the club at the time that I was very proud of, being in my early 20s, and Michael O'Neill signed me. It wasn't like he inherited me. He took me from UCD back and he gave me a good contract and stuff like that. So I knew I was rated. Now, I only had a year with Michael in the end because he obviously moved on at the end of that year, which was, again, at that time, a strange decision considering the success we'd had. We'd won the league. We'd qualified for the Europa League. We were the best team in the country, and then your manager's leaving. You know, you'd imagine they're trying to nail him down. Now, I know he went off and he did great things then for Northern Ireland as well, and his career's moved on from there. But it was always going to be Gary Twigg and at best one more striker. Do you know what I mean? And we had, it wasn't just me on the books. We had, at the time, as I said, Gary O'Neill, we had Carl Shepherd, myself, Tommy Stewart came in. There was always another top striker as well. So like we had 5 strikers and you're always one of them. Now, probably the best thing with me, I felt like I didn't start as many games as I would have liked to. I always was used because I was a different type of option. I'm a 6'3" striker. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, you know, the other ones, you know, could be similar enough in their strengths and their abilities. I was always used, but probably not, as you said, as much as I wanted to be. So, listen, I knew my role under Michael as well. But again, I was only 22 at the time and I was young and I was only finishing up college, you know, and it was a different. I was probably in a different mindset back then too. I was probably happy to be part of it as well at that age. Do you know what I mean? I knew what was going on was great, so I was probably happy to be an impact sub and, you know, learning off Gary Twigg every day. Like there was no shame in that at my age. Do you know what I mean? So that's probably where I was. Albeit, you always want more. Now, when you look back, you have a bit more perspective on it.
Yeah, definitely. We spoke about a couple of European appearances. We have a couple of goals here. We wanted you to give us, I suppose, your verse on it and how you saw it at the time. I think one of them was. Not sure what.
Which one's up first?
We got this one here. You want to talk us through this one?
Yeah, that's probably my most cherished moment in my career, to be honest. You know, it's we're down to 10 men. And we're away in Holland in the first game of the Europa League group stages. And I've come on and I've managed to get my head on one in the 89th minute. So it's gone into the top corner right in front of
it. It was a huge result, wasn't it? Like it was a huge result. Like when you
it was the first time
the budgets of 2 teams and that. It was the first point, wasn't it, away from home?
Yeah, like that guy who's marking me was playing up front for the Netherlands in the Euros. They're just gone by. You know, like they were that's Ron Blair, centre half, and their captain. They were a top team at the time, and you know, we that's the first time an Irish team have picked up a point in the European group stage, and obviously to have scored the goal. Like in fairness, the lads have done a hell of a shift that night. Been down, Stevie O'Donnell got sent off for a second yellow card, and you know, again, like what we were saying earlier, you stay in a game, you never know. You know, they were the superior team; they were well on top. But we get a free kick. I think Shields even down the line won a free kick, and Darrell Horgan whips it in, and you get a flick on it, and it goes in, and the rest is history. You know, everyone. That was 5 years ago on the 15th of September, because every year Dundalk or someone write to me and say it's another year since that goal. And 5 years, it seems a lot longer considering, say, where Dundalk, what's going on there at the minute. Like to say that was only 5 years ago, and even myself, I'm now retired, and you know it's strange when you look back. But so
that's your favorite ever? That's your favorite ever goal because of the significance of it. And
it was my first European goal. It was you know, it was a huge moment. The media coverage over those games.
It was huge. Yeah, it was live on TV and that as well. So
it was great. You know, I'm after probably watching Dave McMillan get his moments against Bate Borisov a few weeks previous when he was scoring the winners, and you're the other striker going, I hope I get a chance. So there was a lot of a feeling of relief there for me as well, and a lot of emotion was in that night for me, and it was a great one. I remember Kenny had said to me before the game, he was like, I was coming back from a couple of injuries, and he was like, wouldn't it be written for you to score the winner tonight? So I only got the equaliser in the end, but it was still a great night for me, in fairness. I remember it well.
That was brilliant. And just on Dundalk, obviously we touched on Shamrock Rovers. You know, you probably talked about Georgie there and about how sometimes a club fits for you and you're complimented by the players that was around you. Like, you know, you really were a top player for Kilduff, or for Kilduff was a top player for Dundalk.
It was definitely the best Kilduff.
The best Kilduff, absolutely. But like, what was it about that and Stephen Kenny's management, like, you know, where you felt, you know, that, you know, he was able to get the best out of you? Was it a combination of his management skills? Like maybe, you know, you could have been disappointed that you're not playing, you know, but he's there telling you, look, you're going to come on, you're going to score. Yeah. You know, was that the sort of little things that, you know, people don't see, you know, even though the rest of the team wouldn't have known that he had that conversation with you? Is that the sort of skill sets that he's bringing and sort of instill that belief in that Dundalk group?
Yeah, but he tended to get the best of most of the players. It wasn't just me. He had a mild touch where he had everyone rowing in the same direction. And now that I'm kind of trying to get into management and coaching myself at the minute, I'm learning from that. That's probably the most important part, because you have a squad of 22 players at a minimum. 11 of them are going to be unhappy every week. Do you know what I mean? 11 are going to be happy. It's the ones that are not playing you got to worry about. And at times I wasn't playing, and at times I was playing. But whatever way he had it, no one ever seemed to be that disgruntled. Do you know what I mean? Everyone wanted to play, but he was able to manage the squad exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And even for me, I was always ready when called upon. Like, a lot of my best moments came from the bench, but no one ever remembers them. Like the fact that you came from the bench, you just came on and you knew you were going to get your moment, and you hopefully had to be ready to take it. And that's something that he's unrivaled with, in my opinion, under managers I worked with. He knew which player needed an arm around the shoulder, and he knew which player needed the opposite. Do you know what I mean? It was great man management of the situations at times, and you know, he got his rewards for it. Obviously in Ireland now at the minute, I know he's probably going to get to that shortly, but you know, it's probably different because he's probably not getting as much time with the players as he does at a club level. You know what I mean? Like, you nearly felt like if he didn't win, you disappointed him because you're with him every day. Do you know what I mean? You got to know the man. You got to know him as a person first. Do you know what I mean? And maybe at international level, you don't get that same intimacy. But as I said, I enjoyed all my times, and probably 90% of the highlights of my career came at Dundalk.
Yeah. Can he fly off the handle, Kenny?
Like, you were afraid of him. Yeah,
because he seems like a very relaxed sort of control guy, but is he? Yeah,
no, he's able to mix it. You know what I mean? Like, he was always a manager as well. You know, he wasn't your friend or anything like that. He was just a guy that you would have kind of. You knew you could approach him with things, but then if you did something wrong, he'd also tell you about it. There was no getting away from it. And different to Michael O'Neill, because Michael O'Neill probably ruled the roost in a different way. You know, you should be afraid of Michael O'Neill all the time. Do you know what I mean? And in a good way. Do you know what I mean? He was a good motivator, and he could do both. But you know, most of the time he ruled with an iron fist a bit. So you had to. You always stayed in line, if you know what I mean. And you did it with Kenny too, but he just had a different way of doing it. You know, they were both very different, but both exceptionally good managers, and that's why both of them are managed at international level now. And you know, Michael being away in the championship in a minute as well. So, you know, they're both getting their rewards, but they've done things different ways.
Yeah, I suppose you sort of answered that question that I was going to throw at you next in terms of, you know, the quality of manager that both of them are. Who do you feel had the most positive, you know, influence on your career?
On me, it was probably Kenny, because I was probably a softer individual. Do you know what I mean? I liked the arm around the shoulder. I probably needed it. I needed to feel important, or feel when you weren't playing, I need to be reminded that I'm still great. Do you know what I mean? And Kenny probably gave me that more.
I used to have to do that at college, would you, every Monday as well? Give you a wee.
Yeah, well, you kept telling me you were playing with hearts, and that I just respected that so much. So I was constantly picking your brain for advice and stuff. But then I then went to watch you a few times. I never saw you play sober. And then I began to realize I was picking the wrong person's brain a bit. But
I'd say you're around the shoulder the other way as well. That's for
man. We weren't even talking about football half the time. Keeping them upright.
100%.
But no, look, they were great times. That's what I needed. But then there was other players. In saying that, Stephen Kenny wasn't going around handing out hugs every day. Do you know what I mean? It was just different. He had different strokes for different players, and he was able to recognise who needed what. And I think that's what makes a good manager. Do you know? And then even myself, I went to watch a game with. I went to watch the Dundalk Vitesse Arnhem game there about 4 or 5 weeks ago in Tallaght, and. I met Kenny at it, and I got a good hour with him, and we were just chatting about all things football, and we asked him about this, that, and the other. And he's someone that I'd love to continue to learn from, because obviously, you know, his experiences now are huge at the minute, and you know, everyone's talking about him. He's the manager of the national team, so don't get me wrong, he's someone I'd like to constantly keep in touch with if I can.
Yeah, good stuff.
Just in relation, there's a couple of questions coming on here now, but first I want to get in there. You obviously played with some unbelievable players in your career, so I know it's a generic question people ask, but who was, if you know, you're in a management position now, if you could sign one player that you played with at their peak, you know, who would be your your clutch player, as they say in the NFL. I know you like your American football, so I'll use that terminology for you.
You're getting in the way of it now at the minute. But listen, it's no look. The probably, if I was to pick a striker who I learned off, obviously Gary Twigg was brilliant at that period. Although I couldn't admit it at the time because I was desperately trying to get him out of there, and that was always in the back of my mind. But the best player I had the luxury of playing with, and probably the hardest working, was Daryl Horgan. He literally was. I had him at Cork. He was probably the reason when I said I hit a bit of form in Cork. It's no surprise that Daryl was there. All of those big moments, even the other one against Maccabi Tel Aviv, Daryl has assisted probably all of my big goals. Do you know what I mean? I'd say a good 90%. And he was a different animal. He was just a hard working and not naturally built or tall or anything like that. Like, he's not a genetic freak or anything like that. His is all hard work and ability, and he works hard. And what a player. And even now, it's again going back to Kenny's using him in the Ireland setup as well. You see that, and it's not that there's a reason for that, because Kenny probably got to work with him for so many years as well, and he did such a good job for him. The other one, probably the last one I mentioned, was Richy Towell. I've never met a more driven, selfish player. He just, in a good way, he just wanted all the moments and he took them all. He scored all the big goals over the years and cup final winners. Every time he played Cork at the top of the table cash, he was another one that just literally, just come at the hour, come at the man stuff. So I'm glad to see him back in the league, and I hope he begins to start hitting the heights he did before. Because
are you surprised it didn't really work out for him in England? I know he did all right. He had a kind of couple of decent patches, but were you surprised, given, as you say, the characteristics that he has as a player, that he didn't stay there? Because I think that's a lesson for most once they go there, to stay there. But he's came back. Were you surprised?
I probably was, yeah. When Richy was leaving, I know he probably had to pick of many clubs over there, and he chose Brighton. But he ended up getting a new contract at Brighton because, by all accounts, they loved him over there. Chris Hughton loved him. They gave him a new contract, and Richy was happy there. But obviously, I don't have any experience of playing in England, so I obviously, I'm probably not in a position to comment, but the competition must have been so fierce to keep Richy out of teams at times. And then when he did go other places, he did quite well. And now he's home at Shamrock Rovers, and he's still scoring a few big goals. He scored a great goal in Europe there a few weeks ago as well. It was 35 yards, so he still has it all there. But I probably was a bit, because he was, that year, I think he was playing in midfield, and he scored 30 odd goals as a midfield player. And he wasn't playing as a striker. He was playing literally as a Steven Gerrard box-to-box midfielder. Like, he was doing it all, and I've probably never seen a player as dominant as him in the league. And the last one I will give a mention to is Stevie O'Donnell. I probably tend to go for the strikers all the time, or the flair players, but Stevie O'Donnell, obviously, he's captained so many successful Dundalk teams and done so much, and now he's transferred over to management so easily. And he's up there too. He could just command the game in second gear. Do you know what I mean? And there's not many players I saw do that. So I've given you a few there.
Yeah, no, quality, and even just as you're saying about Horgan there as well. I'm sure you love playing them. I think, like, some of his deliveries are unbelievable. Like, as you said, you capitalised off the back of a few of those. A couple of questions here. I'll throw one up to you. What was Ciaran's favourite goal in the league? Scored a few chips and a few overheads. Favourite goal in the league?
Favorite league goal. Look, to be honest, there was very few. Most of my goals, as I said, that I remember, were Europe and FAI Cup. I scored one or two at Dundalk. A last minute winner. We were playing. It sounds Longford were bottom of the league, and we were 3-3 last kick of the game, and I come up with a header. It was a huge goal for us at the time to kind of get us over the line. I scored a few last minute goals. It always, no matter what they say, I remember scoring a last minute goal against Derry City live on the telly. It was only for a 1-1 draw, but the fact that it was live on RT2 and it was stuff like that, everything looks better. Do you know what I mean? And you get more recognition for it. So some of my last minute goals were good, but this one, I was going to pick it that you're showing, but that was actually a cup game, so I couldn't pick it.
You would have let me away with the cup one. It wouldn't have been that stingy. Your favourite cup goal, so you could have threw that in.
Yeah, no, that one was good. That got me a little bit of airtime as well. In fairness, that was a great moment. I remember we were going out the next day, and everyone was jumping on me, going, "That's great! Now we can celebrate that tomorrow." You don't know what the lads would be saying when they're jumping on top of you, but that was actually what they were whispering in my ear there.
Was it team day out? Was it the next day?
We had a team day out the next day, and I just remember thinking to myself, win here, get it over. We don't need a replay.
Yeah.
And everyone was delighted then. So it's them little things that no one ever realizes. Here I am talking about it, 7 years later. And no, look, that was a great call. That was probably one of my highlights. There was a night in Cork as well where we won 5-3 and I scored 4. So one of them was a great night for me too. But the league has been good to me. Do you know what I mean? A lot of those moments get remembered because
special goal, unbelievable goal. To be fair, like that's unbelievable finish.
Yeah, no, I was happy with it. It got me on soccer. What?
I was actually just listening to the commentary on that there. I think it's George Hamilton. It's crossed in, and he just goes as simple as that, or as easy as that.
Up with a free kick here, and another chance. Oh, it's number 2. And Kilduff gets the second. Simple as you like. And I suppose that could be put down to the fact.
George is scoring back heels this whole career.
Yeah, that's like you might as well have had Falker doing commentary that night.
Hey, that was one thing that was poor about you. Your celebration was poor. Wasn't it?
Well, listen, man, I don't remember much of it, to be fair. That happened in a moment. I was after throwing my heel at something.
No, you're better than the old jump on the old fist pump line. You know what I mean? There's no creativity at all. Like you just score an outrageous goal with a back heel and you just run over and just give it a big.
Yeah, well, in fairness, I saw you try to slide in your knees on the Maynooth Astro after scoring a goal one day, and it didn't go too well. So you can give me a little bit of credit. No, look at those. I actually do remember that commentary. It was listen, I don't even know. People ask me, did you mean it or did you? I meant to throw my heel at it. Did I mean it to go exactly where it did? I don't know. It went in. I mean, if it went over the bar, no one would be even talking about it. So you take them whatever way they come.
And I'd say the lads too, because there was a team day out, like you said, everybody is absolutely bossing the fact that's whatever. There's no training tomorrow. There's no replay. It's just
it was great. No, it was good because that one kind of got a bit, as I said. I think it was on Soccer AM the next day or something. I think that was a Friday night game, and it was on, and it got a little bit of. It was up. I got goal of the month for it, obviously as well. And I got a few bits for it. It was good, and it kind of. I was not long after signing for Dundalk yet either at that stage. That was one of my earlier goals for them as well. Yeah. So it was a nice way to kind of announce yourself. And obviously we went on to win the cup that year as well. So it actually meant something eventually as well.
Nice. And I would say it was mentioned a few times the next day as well.
Oh, a lot of times, yeah. A lot of times. Slurred words, but it was mentioned.
You're getting the point across. Good stuff. Chief, you want to take another question there?
I suppose, look, we've chatted a good bit about Dundalk. Enjoying the conversation with you, Duffer. It's good. Just, I suppose we move away from Dundalk. Chris is asking, how do you view your time in the States? Obviously, big move, to go. You talked about you didn't play in England, but, it's not, England's obviously a lot more familiar for it. It's a lot closer to us. How did that move come about, and how do you look back on your time in the States?
Yeah, that was a special time for me, different than all football. Obviously, that's what people always recognise when you're playing in Ireland. Everyone thinks, "Oh, can I get a move to England?" But there's a big world there that I wasn't even aware of it at the time, and that move came about because of the goals that you just showed in Europe. In America, it's a little bit. You've probably all seen Moneyball, but it's all done on stats and profiles. Obviously, I had good goals to game ratio in the Europa League. I was 6'3", athletic striker, if you want. And that's, they probably had never seen me in the flesh. They were just signing me off the basis of this was his profile, this is what he's done, this is who he plays for. He's playing in Europa League, he can come here. So I got a great offer. I got a great financial offer. It was a great opportunity. It was to live in Florida. I could bring my family with me. Like, it was a no-brainer when you're getting to 28, 29, do you know what I mean? To go to sail to, you're not going to play for Liverpool, do you know what I mean? Which was obviously the boyhood dream. So now you're going, okay, well, this is an opportunity to have a lifestyle alongside football and really have experience in it. And to be honest, I want to go back, even in a coaching capacity down the line. I saw what America has to offer. It's a huge growing
unbelievable setup over there, like, isn't it? Soccer is huge over there. I know it's dwarfed by some of the bigger sports, but it is huge.
Yeah, look at Falker. My day over there was we had to train. It was in Florida, so we had to train at 7 a.m. because it was too hot by 11. We finished training by 10:30. If you were off the next day, you had 3 days in Florida. I'd go down to Orlando. I'd bring the little one to Disneyland. I could, live the life and get ready for a game. Like, that was genuinely what it was. And when I got offered the move, Richy Ryan had been there previous to me, and
oh yeah, Richy Ryan, what a player he was for Sligo.
yeah. So I rang him and we were having a chat. And I was standing in my back garden in Kilduff, just down the road from Maynooth, and Richy was walking along the promenade in Miami, and he was like having an ice cream with his daughter, and he was like, "Man, why wouldn't you come out here? I mean, you know, financially it's good. I'm out here living the lifestyle. You train in the mornings, you know, everything, facilities, you know, chartered planes, everything. It was all there for me, and I loved every minute of it. Something that if you'd said to me, you know, when we were in college, that would ever happen to me. I didn't even know the club existed. I didn't know Jacksonville with over a couple of million people in it. I didn't even know where it was.
What was the standard like, though, Kilduff, compared to? Because obviously it wasn't the MLS. It was the
division below it. It was the division below it. So, but like Joe Cole was playing in it. Do you know what I mean? Like there was some top players in it. Like it was a good standard for what it was. Now, it was slower. It wasn't as, say, technical as you would imagine. A lot of the American players are brilliant athletically. They were all, you know, freaks, big, strong, fast, quick, athletic players. But any bit of kind of, that's why Richie's still playing over there in his late 30s. Richie's, you know, 3 steps ahead in his head kind of player. You know what I mean? He plays the game at his pace, and it allowed him to do that. Whereas when I was out there as well, I fitted in great. I was club captain for the second year I was there, and that was a great honor. I'd never captained a team before, and albeit it was an American team, it was still a great feeling for me to be captaining a team from the city, and it was great. I loved it out there. I would have stayed longer. What eventually happened was that the league I was in disbanded, the NASL, and my particular club didn't apply for the USL, which was the transfer over league. So they ended up taking a year out. So I just came home subsequently. I had offers out there, but without being disrespectful to anyone, I'd probably chosen that one because I knew the location was great and ideal for my family. I didn't want to be just going.
So the location was a big factor for you, like, you know.
Huge. You could leave your, you know, what you don't remember about America is I was obviously playing on the East Coast, i.e. living in Florida, and we played San Francisco on the West Coast, and it was a 4-day trip. And I had to leave Sophie and my daughter at home in the apartment for 4 days in a city that they didn't know many people while I go off and play a football match. You know, and it was you know, 8 hours, 2 connected flights to get there, stay over in a hotel, play the game, stay over, and then 8 hours to get home. It was a different experience than you're here. Like the worst you had here was a 4-hour trip to Ballybuffet or Cove. But you're home the same night. You know what I mean? This was a 4-day trip, and it was like, listen, I'll see you Monday. So it was tough. They were things that literally just they were new. Listen, I have a few friends who often ask me advice when they go out and play. I probably would have loved to go out a few years earlier if I could. Obviously, I couldn't, considering the way my career went with Dundalk, but it's definitely something I would have liked a bit more of.
Yeah, again, you just answered the question. My next question was going to be: is there, if you had obviously known now what you know now, would you have tried to get out there sooner? But
I would. Listen, I would advise anyone. Not too much sooner, but I'd say if you went out there at 26, 27 and got maybe a good experience of it, that'd be the right age.
And Duffer, see from a footballing perspective, like, you know, obviously the location, you know, Orlando, Florida, that's, you know, that's self-explanatory. But in terms of football, in terms of their approach, you know, in Dundalk, you would have been part of very professional setups. You know, you talked about the Moneyball thing. Would they sort of, if they were analysing the game you've played, are they looking at the distance you've covered, you know, your sprint distances? Did they analyse your performance, you know, differently to, say, Stephen Kenny would have analysed the Dundalk? Was that hard to get your head around, or what? How did the two compare, if you get me, in terms of
in terms of their facilities, their data, their organisation, they were probably superior to the Irish clubs. I mean, because money was no issue. You know, like they a lot of these clubs have a lot of financial owner invested into them, and it was always, everything was the top of the range, everything, do you know what I mean? From travel to the food, to training grounds, to everything. There was no stone left unturned. They were probably a little bit behind in terms of their guile, maybe their tactical stuff, do you know what I mean? And that was just something because Europe is so far ahead, do you know what I mean? And that's probably why I'm even seeing, not seeing a gap in the market, but I'd love to go out, I'd love to go out and apply myself in America, because I feel like maybe in Europe I have a lot to learn, but they're a little bit, not behind, but, you know, they wouldn't be as advanced. It'd be a nice place for you to learn out there as well, you know, going in, getting a good setup with a good club and competing against other managers around the same level as you. You know, I have my B license now, I'm hopeful to go on and get my A, and that would be enough for me probably to get me out to America, whereas an A here, so many people have them, you know, they're probably do very little for you, so it's worth more out in America. And I probably just, as I said, I think America and Canada are hosting the World Cup after Qatar, and there's going to be investment and opportunities in America for soccer to be really pushed now for the next 5-6 years. So I'd love to maybe get my boots on the ground out there.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Good stuff. Sounds good.
That's cool. And just in terms of that, just quickly before I move on, we'll go back onto the Ireland setup. Just see in terms of that tactical naivety that you're talking about. In what way are they like not advanced in terms of, obviously they'd watch a lot of football in Europe in terms of Premier League? Is it just that they're quite rigid and that they've got a certain few systems that they play and that's it? Is it, you know?
Yeah, like it's probably a little bit like the players were all very much so focused on being athletically strong and quick and fast, but the technical side of the game. And I was no technical wizard myself, as Falker likes to remind everyone. But
just lump it up long, flick on Merchant, all your goals.
But did you not see that goal there against Sligo? No?
You threw your leg at it. Hey, you were helping it on. That's all.
I was trying to take it.
You made a career of helping things on.
I was trying to trap it. It was stuff like that. You know, a lot of their players were more athletically tuned than they were tactically and technically tuned. Do you know what I mean? They probably grew up thinking, you know, football isn't played in the gyms and it's not played, you know, running around with your speed vans and your GPS vests. A lot of it was down to street football here, and they're usually the best players, the best technical players. And out there in America, it's not a game that's played. They all probably play their American football and basketball and baseball when they're young. Do you know what I mean? And you just know when they get to a certain level that they haven't hit the same technical and tactical levels that they had here in Europe where we grew up with football. Do you know what I mean? And it's only something small, but it definitely holds back the speed of the game and the fluidity of the game and as I said, the technical side of it.
I suppose we go back to Stephen Kenny, your old manager. We know that he's having, I suppose, a difficult time with the Ireland setup at the minute. How do you see things going for him in the future? I suppose, how do you see the way things have gone for him so far? We know he's been really unlucky with, you know, the players' availability and COVID, and, you know, suddenly you think from one game, he's, you know, I think if we get a full squad out, you know, next game will be okay. Next thing, you got 3 players out with COVID and he sort of got his hands tied again. Just, I suppose, a general overview of how you think things have gone for him.
Yeah, look, he'd be the first to admit himself that the results are hard. They're probably indefensible. You know, you can't really defend the string of results. He said himself, too many draws. They turned the draws into wins. Things would look a bit better. And I think everyone's in agreement with that. But he has done what he said he was going to do when he first got the job. He was going to change the style, change the personnel, and build a new team. And he's doing that now. Because that hasn't happened straight away, anyone who wants to have a vendetta or wants him out is you point to the results. But anyone who wants to keep him there and give him the more time, like I would point to the fact, well, look at these new players we've got. You know, look at all these new kids who are getting an opportunity that probably otherwise would never have got. I think it'd be a bigger risk if anyone made a knee-jerk reaction and change things now. Like, I mean, as we said, I don't see what the issue would be in giving him another campaign and going, okay, listen, that was your building period, the transition period. We all know there was some teething problems, but we have a brand new, literally, team there. We've made some lads, even from the keeper up. We've made some brand new household names from this squad. And if you stand back from the results, which is very hard to do, and you could probably stand there and give me the eye roll and say, how could you stand back from the results? But if you did, you could literally just say, well, look, we have a young Irish team trying to play the right way. And look, I am biased in my approach. I obviously have a good relationship with Stephen Kenny, and I want him to do well, and he was good to me. So you might meet someone who's the complete opposite of me, and they'll tell you a different story of how things are going and spin it a different way. But in my opinion, I just think let's judge it give a bit more time and then judge it as a whole. Because to be honest,
how long's a bit more time, no, Kilduff, just to play the devil's advocate here? Like, they've got 3 more qualifiers left. Obviously, home to Portugal's a tough fixture, but we're away to Azerbaijan and Luxembourg. Just say we don't pick up a win in either of the 3 qualifiers. He's gone through a full campaign where you've played 4 matches against Azerbaijan and Luxembourg and you haven't won any. Like, that's where do you understand where I totally agree with you saying I'm pro Kenny, by the way. I'm playing the devil's advocate here, where people are saying, even though there's a transition period, surely we're good enough to get a win against Luxembourg or Azerbaijan. Do you know what I mean? I think that's not, I know people are saying, who give us this sense of entitlement where we should just rock up and beat these teams. But is it unfair to think that we should be, even if it's a period of transition, you should be able to beat teams like that?
But it's completely right. Do you know what I mean? Like, and don't get me, in my mind, I think it's important we finish the group strong now. Do you know what I mean? To lead us into the next one. It's been a bad run of results, so far be it from me to stand over it and go, oh, no, that's acceptable. It's not. But like, there has been so much change. That's what I'm saying. Like,
no, I agree. I'm just
like Obama Daly, I didn't know who he was. He's now playing centre half. He's in the Premier League. He's been excellent. Bazunu, excellent. Do you know what I mean? Young keepers coming through, midfielders, Malumbi, Ida up front. It's not just been one or two changes. It's literally been a complete different system, style of play, formation. Yeah. There's been a lot of change. I don't think, if things continued into the next campaign, I think, everyone would be universal to go, okay, well, the project has failed. I just think it's too soon to say the project has failed. And to be fair, there is this little bit, not that everyone, international football isn't like it used to be, where, you'd be going over and playing these teams and you'd be winning 5, 6, 7-0. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought Bulgaria drew with Italy there a few weeks ago as well, 1-1 in one of the games. It's Portugal themselves stumbled over us and Azerbaijan.
Macedonia beat Germany.
Yeah, I read someone tweeted there the other day, like, Ireland have no players playing in the Champions League, I don't think, this year. All those Azerbaijan players last year were playing in the Champions League with Karabakh and teams like that. Then there was, I think right now Canada have 4 players playing in the Champions League this year throughout all the top teams or whatever. Now, if Ireland play Canada tomorrow, we'd be all saying we should be hammering them, we should be beating them. But there's a bigger picture that Irish football is really after going back in the last couple of years. We fall down the rankings. A lot of that has been down to, maybe old style of play. We're not developing the players we were. And I just think now international football is probably harder than it's ever been, and we're probably at the lowest point we've ever been. So it's really, listen, the probably thing is, if I said to you, who do you bring in? Everyone has a different opinion, but it's probably back to what we did for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Well, what do you reckon?
Well, I reckon, I was just going to say there, I think, yes, he's done really well, and in terms of the last result there against Serbia, and he's kind of lifted it. So I think it's the international football's been left on a high in terms of our last experience of it. There, obviously, a great performance in that. The way that he's changed the style of play in that, and as you say, Ciaran, bringing in the new lads and giving them an opportunity to play the right way. Is there still, do you think, that snobbery amongst the ranks and in certain areas where Stephen Kenny and he's come from Dundalk to the under 21s up to are the players coming back from England saying, does this lad really know what he's at? Because results aren't really suggesting that for me, and I suppose then when you bring that, sorry, not to cut across you, I've asked you one question, then I'm going to ask you another one, but is that going to be, there's more than Kenny that has that style of playing ball, and could a bigger name maybe get more out of the players? I suppose what I'm saying.
Look, that's probably fair, but I would imagine the majority of the players are the players that he's given a chance that he knows if it was someone else they wouldn't get the chance. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of those young players who know that if we had stayed with previous managers or went more alike, we'd never have even thought about putting them in squads, never mind played them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Stephen had worked with this team at the under 21s and it was actually quite successful with them at that. And he's carried a few through and put a bit of faith in them. I think that's the bulk of it. That's not to answer your first question, but there's obviously then some of the old guard who maybe, listen, again, I was never in an international team, so it's hard for me to put an exact title, but I imagine some of the older players probably knows is a bit out of joint, kind of going, well, should I be still playing? I'm still available, pick me. But this is what he said he was going to do. And I think if he had come in and did what other people have said, you would have fell on that sword also, because it would have said, well, you said you were going to give the youth a chance. You said you were going to change the style. You said you were going to play football. And now that we're doing that and we're not getting immediate results, people are going, the project has failed. And it's very easy to do that when things are like they are. But for me, trying to learn about the game and just when I watch them as much as I can, I think I enjoy watching them more now. I do. Like people went on about, well, we beat Germany a few years ago, and then someone told me about the stats of the game. We scored from a kick out, and they had 18 shots, and we had 2. Yeah. And it's easy to look back at rose tinted glass, go, we beat Germany there after they were World Cup champions in whatever year it was, and then I'm nearly 2015 or something. I'm nearly going, but it wasn't a great game. We didn't play brilliant. We didn't bop Germany off the park or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? That was just a result, and we were.
It was a bit of a, it was the first big team we'd beat since Holland in 2001. Like, so it's a flash in the pan results. Whereas
it was a bit. It was in isolation. It's a huge result, but like we were, and I know we weren't, but we were a Cristiano Ronaldo injury time crusade away from beating Portugal away in a game that we actually played well. We could have had a few more goals. So it's easy for me to stand back from it. I've said it enough. I'm pro Kenny, like you said yourself, Walker, and I want more time. Well, I'm not advocating that other than I just give it a little bit more time, and then, and in fairness, I think the FAI have said the same. They've come out a few times in interviews and said, listen, we'll stand back at the end of this campaign and we'll judge it as a whole. We obviously know there's been circumstances and a transition period. So I'm hopeful that, as Keith said as well, we finished on a high there against Serbia. It was a good result. They're a good team. Players playing all a lot around Serie A, top divisions around Europe. We don't have that at the minute. And we got a good result, which was great.
No, good question. But as Ciaran, I think, me and Ciaran have chatted about it a lot. I think if you look at the last run of results, like, Portugal, great performance, very unlucky. Azerbaijan, I don't think he got the team right. But again, what do I know? But I felt he should have tried to keep the same team that played against Portugal. We should have beat Azerbaijan. We didn't. Then we got a good result against Serbia. So I think some people are obsessed with looking, it's only 1 in 19. But as you say, if you look at the last 5 or 6, or certainly the last 3 games, there's been an improvement. But I think what happens, and you can see it, there's a divide where it's pro League Ireland fans and pro Kenny, and there's the other side of the fence. And I think what happens, I think the League of Ireland fans, and I class myself in this category as well, I am pro Kenny, but I can see where some of the other fans are coming from, where I've seen all this trust the process stuff, right? Hashtag trust the process. And it's almost like dismissive of, like, say I'm there now having a conversation with you and you just go, trust the process, as if it's definitely going to work. Where I don't think that helps the conversation, where you've got someone so entrenched in one camp where it's like there's a refusal to criticize anything he does. And then it's probably extreme in the other way, where they're just refusing to accept that there's any improvement. There's no in between, because, like, as I said to Keith, I think we were brilliant against Portugal, but you can still be pro Kenny and criticize the team against Azerbaijan. He probably got it wrong, but unfortunately, I feel that there's a lot that stay in that camp, refuse to criticize anything he does, and then I think that winds up another section of supporters who still, quite rightfully, you'd have to say, based on the results, are questioning whether he's the right man. So, like, do you see that sort of divide, and it probably doesn't help, or what do you think?
No, 100%. Listen, my first sentence was that the results are indefensible, and it's hard to debate them. I mean, the truth is obviously somewhere in the middle. The results aren't good enough, but we're playing.
I definitely enjoy.
It's definitely worth watching. And I tell you what's a weirder dynamic on all of this is that the whole country is talking about it. In terms of everyone is either it's that topic of argument at the minute where someone can hammer you with the results and someone else will hammer you with the youth, and people are talking about Irish soccer for the first time in what felt like a long time, and people are looking at a young Irish team and probably taking some bit of pride, going, he's from Leagueslip down the road, and he's a young lad. There's that little thing going on now at the minute where you're kind of going, but people are talking about Irish football for a while. I think these next couple of games are important that we the Portugal one at home. Let's be honest, you're playing one of the top 10 teams in the world. Cristiano Ronaldo's coming to town. It's that's not an easy game. But I mean, the other 2 games, as you said, it's important we play well and get results out of them now, because probably the argument is there to be had right now. But if the results continued, the argument probably is over. But then again, on the other side of things, if you start matching the performances with results, you get a better picture of it. So these next 3 games are huge, and it'll probably dictate whether it'll continue on for another campaign. Then I imagine so. They're going to be great. They're going to be great internationals, in fairness.
Yeah, well, I think just to go back over it slightly there, like, I think we said about it was a great game against Portugal. It was a good game against Serbia. We weren't given, like we had done in previous campaigns under previous managers, we're keeping the ball. We're not giving them the ball. We're not, you know what I mean? If you give Ronaldo enough opportunities, if you give them lads enough opportunities, they will score more goals. The fact that we're trying to play and trying to retain possession, it's better to watch. I think we're more competitive. we're not shipping goals as such, like we had been before, giving away lots of opportunities not there. So I think it's positive too. I think it's going in the right way. And I say we just have to be patient because, as we say, you couldn't watch some of that stuff. Some of that stuff that was in previous campaigns.
It was brutal. You couldn't watch it. The Portugal performance, as you both touched on as well, we carried a threat the whole game. Well, maybe up until the last 20 minutes or so, I think we tired. But
I even remember after they equalised
away from home against that sort of opposition, play that way and be such a threat in the counter attack. So I do think people need to look at the bigger picture.
Even when they went 1-1, I think McLean gets in on the left wing. It's kind of a half chance as well. We constantly had a threat, and that was against one of the best teams in Europe, as we said. So listen, there is a lot of positives, but obviously, as we've highlighted enough now, there's a lot of the arguments there to be had.
Definitely a lot of conversation. I'm sure there'll be a lot more conversations over the next couple of months over should he stay, should he go, should he know the campaign or whatever they got there. No, look, Chief, have we any more questions or
just a final one? Look, it's been brilliant conversation. We've covered a lot of ground. You're still relatively young, Kilduff. Why did you decide to hang up the boots? I mean, you were still playing well for Shells. Was it if Shells had got out of the first division, would you have played another season? Like, what was your decision? What motivated your decision to say, you know what, the time's up for me? Because you are still young.
Yeah, no, look, I had 2 years at Shells. We won the first division, got into the Premier, and then came back down. It was a half a season with COVID. I probably felt a little bit like, most people would probably say to themselves, "Oh, I can't finish like that." Where I probably just didn't have that fight anymore. I mean, I knew the time was up. I was like, "No, that's probably exactly why you're finishing." Do you know what I mean? My son was born in February as well. It was the right time for me. Priorities came back in. I probably just didn't have it in me again to try and go back to the wells and find one more year in it. And I know it's not like my body was completely shutting down in it, but I'd had a few old war wounds. I'd had a screw in my foot. I'd done my knee. I'd fractured my back. And when you get a bit older, you probably just take the risk out of it, going, well, I don't want to go back for a few quid and then pick up a really bad injury at the end of your career that you could carry with you for the next couple of years of your life. So I probably shied away from it a bit, and I've had no regrets to this day with my decision. I'd had my lot. I probably wouldn't have stayed any longer. I wouldn't have changed that, to be honest. The time was just right for me. And listen, I'd had 1 or 2 offers. Before Shells could even sit down with me, I told them, no, I'm finished. You know what I mean? That's me done. And a few other clubs had rang me, but the time was right for me. Nothing could have tempted me at that stage. I was happy. I probably made my decision a month before the end of the year. I was so desperate for it not to end like it did, and probably hurt then for a few weeks afterwards that it did end like that. But I'm at peace with it now. Like there's no issue.
Surely, Ciaran, you've always had aspirations to play in the Irish League. Surely there's
a few of those phone calls came through.
Gannon are looking for a striker,
No way here.
It's not that far up the road. It's not that far up the road. You'll love it.
No, it's not that. Listen, as I said, I wouldn't have just done it for a few quid either. Do you know what I mean? If I was doing it, I have to do it properly. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like some lads, you get to that stage where you go, it's an easy number, or it's a nice gig or whatever like that, and one night a week kind of stuff. It wouldn't have been me. It would have consumed me a bit in my own personal life as well. I have to do it properly. So I'm quite happy now to be able to chill out, eat what I want, and go to bed when I want, and hang out with the kids, and that it's great. So the coaching obviously fell in. It's a great transition for me that it just fell right into my lap as well. So I still like I still got to go up to Dalymount the other night and feel part of it, which was great.
Yeah, you were up. You mentioned just one of the questions here, Dylan Doherty threw in a question. You were up at the Harps match the last night, obviously against Bows as well. Any of the Harps lads stand out for you? Anyone really impressed you?
Yeah, I was really impressed with O'Sullivan. Is it Carl O'Sullivan? Is that his first name?
Yeah,
he looks a real player, real talent. He stood out to me. They were good on the night. Like, in fairness to Harps, I'd known a lot, and I'm sure I've played against Shane McElhenney umpteen times and lads like that, and Ethan Boyle. You have some really good talent up there. But no, O'Sullivan was definitely one for the future. I think he's only 21, is he? I inquired about him when I was up there in the stand. Is he 21? Is he that young, or is he a bit older?
He's a young lad. I'm not sure of his age, but
No, he was one that just stood out to me. I was really impressed with him on the night. I think he caused Bows a lot of problems. Even in the first half, he wasn't. Bows were the better team, but I think he seems to have a lot about him. He had the pace and a bit of strength and that, and he whipped in a few great balls. So he's one to be excited about up there as well. But like I said, I think Ollie has the team well drilled up. They know what they're about. They play to their strengths, and they've got a lot of them lads fit that system. So it'd be interesting to to see how they get on this year. They really look like a team now to be excited about. And actually, I only said, I did another interview the other day, and I said I was up at the game, and someone asked me what it was like up there. I have a newfound kind of nearly respect for Harps. When you were a player, I always hated going up there because it was a long trip and wouldn't be the best pitch or that in the world. You know, when you get there, you're kind of like, wow. But actually sitting in the stand, and no, genuinely, it was one of those trips where you kind of get off the bus going, you weren't getting out with the new camp or anything like that. You're literally going, right, here we go. But like next minute, when I was sitting in the stand, I stayed in the hotel around the corner called the Jackson or something it was called, and I just walked to the game, and there was a great buzz on a Monday night. You know, people walking up to the ground, and a fella charged me an extra $5 to sit in the seat. I couldn't believe it, but I ended up sitting in the stand, and no, it was brilliant. Like it was a great place to watch a game. The atmosphere was brilliant, and honestly, the last 10 minutes, I thought I was going to leave early and get a bit of the trip done. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'll get out here. But I couldn't leave. I waited till the last kick. The crowd were up and behind the goals were baying for blows blood, and it was brilliant. It was a really great place to watch a game, and something that you never experience when you're on the pitch because you're too busy playing. You know, and great place to play.
Yeah, no, and I suppose you just speak on that there. So with the fans back in, and you know, and with Harps going really well at the minute, you know, that atmosphere and that, you know, as you mentioned, the town end there, and you know how they can almost suck the ball into the net. There's been a couple of big nights over the last few years, and if we just can we get Boyd's goal up? Can we get Sean Boyd's goal up there as well? So this is, you can give us your critique on this one as well for the touch and finish, and you can see
if Kilduff tried to control it, it'd be Sinn Féin. Kilduff tried to take that. You would have headed it, Kilduff, would you?
I would have thrown my ankle at it again.
The back heel from there.
Yeah, that would have been right. No, look at it. It's an exceptional touch. It's all over the internet. I've seen it enough times. It's the touch has made it, and it's one of them. He had scored just before that, hadn't he, as well, to make it. He you know, you probably don't kill it like that if you're not feeling confident after scoring the first one. Do you know what I mean? It's an unbelievable touch, and he's took the defender out. He took the defender out of the game and buried it. And I mean, a dream goal. You can see the scenes behind the goals. They say they couldn't believe their luck. You know, 95 minutes odd in the clock, 10 men. A striker's dream goal, I suppose that is. And it'll be good for him now as well, because I imagine he'll bop down the road to Dundalk. He'll be dangerous on the night as well, because he's a big lad. I was looking at him as well. I think he's playing off the right against Bowes as well. But like he's a handful, let's say, when he gets going. I remember.
Yeah, he's had a few injuries and stuff. You know, he definitely is a good player. He hasn't had the best of times of late, but something like that, you know yourself, a couple of goals can kickstart it, and hopefully it does.
Yeah, but he could be a good one now when they run in for Finn Harps. So I wouldn't bet against him.
Yeah, no, ex Rovers man like yourself as well.
There's enough of us out there.
Duffer, obviously, I'm a bit of a legend down in Maynooth. I was the first person from the university to captain the Irish University. Say, do you want me back down? I'm willing to travel.
No, we're all right for the minute, folks. We're going quite well at the minute. But if I do, I know where you are. We might be missing a 6 now. He's suspended, but
get me in. Was it a bad challenge? What did he get sent off for the last night? Was it a bad challenge?
Yeah, I argued with the referee at halftime, but I was a long way away. But the referee seemed adamant it was he got him on the shin. He went over the ball, and as I've looked back on the few of the videos, it looks like that might be the case. So I was arguing for nothing. Maybe I owe that referee an apology.
Yeah.
If he listens to allergic to silverware, I apologise. Yeah, I'm sure he does. Yeah.
I'm sure he does. Now look, absolute pleasure to have you on, Ciaran. Absolute gentleman. Some great insights there into your career and goals, and you know what they meant and stuff like that there, and obviously really interesting stuff on the Kenny factor as well. And we're all fingers crossed, and hopefully it goes well for him and he picks up a few results and maybe gets another campaign as well. Just for people as well that aren't used to watching Allergic Silverware, we got a couple of podcasts on there as well. If you want to check those out, and a couple other interviews, you can like and subscribe on YouTube. It's on Facebook as well and on Twitter. So get on there, give us a like, give us a little comment, and what you thought of this one would be great. Ciaran, absolute pleasure, as I said. Thanks for joining us.
Top man, pleasure chatting.
Appreciate it, lads. Anytime.
You know, you had a great career, and I think you're going to be a success in management as well from chatting to you. Although we might lose you to the States. Say you love the sun and you're mad to get back out to Florida again. That was a good sales pitch to anyone from the US watching. We'll get Paddy McCann on. And,
it's an international podcast, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. It's international. We'll get this vlogged in New Jersey for you, and we'll see if we can get you a coaching gig.
Thanks a million, lads. I appreciate it.
Hi, top
Good
man.
stuff, Stuffer. Good luck.
Cheers,
Best of luck,
Stuffer.
lads. Thanks. Cheers.